It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth, President and founder of Secure Estate Management. Take charge of your financial future with your personal bank. Now, here's Ferenc Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show, and I just want to say it's kind of nice to be back in the studio. We've been recording some of these shows because of the coronavirus lockdown from home, and my producer Jason has done an awesome job with technical difficulties and that, so Jason, thank you for doing that for us. Anyway, he just gave us a thumbs up. Anyway, I've got a special guest on today. I'm going to introduce here in a minute. And it's talking about the small businesses. And of course, with the coronavirus, everything that's going on, it's really impacting the small business community probably as much or more than almost any other area. In fact, I've got an article here I was just reading this morning. It was pretty eye-opening. As many of you know, if you listen to the show, I work with a lot of small business owners. I am one myself. I'm an entrepreneur, have been for over 25 years. I've actually owned a retail business, a construction company. I had a service business, and of course, the last 16 years, a financial services agency. And then most recently, chairman of the board of a bank in formation, trying to start up a bank. Of course, that's been put on hold temporarily with everything that's going on recently. But I'm a serial entrepreneur, I guess you would say, and that's where I am. Yes, I'm a financial guy, and this is Your Personal Bank Show on Money Radio. But at my heart, I'm an entrepreneur. And that's how I kind of that's my worldview of how I look at things. And I'm just seeing like this article talking about that there's over 30 million small businesses in America. And, we've heard study after study that over 50% of the U.S. GDP is generated by those small businesses. In fact, this article even echoes that. And a survey was done very recently that just came out. It's very interesting that only 13% of the small businesses that applied for the government Paycheck Protection Program loan were approved, and only 3% of small business owners that applied for the disaster loan program were approved. Yeah, it's really dismal numbers, and it's very frustrating. And the thing is, in the article, here's the thing that we're looking at. And like I said, this is in the bigger picture in the economy, for investors and folks looking at the future, small business is going to have a big impact on that. We've had, over 30 million unemployment in the last 6 weeks. I'm sorry. I should say months. I wish it was months. That's going to have an impact on our economy going forward, and particularly the small businesses. As study after study shows, a majority of jobs are with small businesses in the U.S. So this is a serious, serious situation that needs to be looked at closely. And so, in fact, the survey stated that was just done that currently they're saying only 31% of small businesses can operate for the next few months or less, okay? And then 7% less than a month. So they're hemorrhaging red ink, as the article and as the survey is pointing out. And then the other thing is, we've all heard, if you've paid any attention, that the loan programs, they've had some rocky starts. And this is what leads me into my guest that's going to be joining us here. Here's the thing, like the article says, large banks, haven't focused on small businesses for quite some time. Because for the most part, they deemed it too labor-intensive. And that was actually one of the primary reasons why I got involved in starting a local bank, and in the efforts of doing that is because the small business community doesn't have a resource for lending, really, except in the local community banks. By the way, a lot of the community banks, like even the article points out, they got buried. I have a friend of mine I know who is the president of a local bank in another state, and he told me they processed 6 SBA loans last year as a bank. And the first weekend, when the first rollout happened, they had over 500 applications in the first 2 days. They just weren't equipped to handle the volume. So there's a lot of problems out there. There's a lot of small businesses that have been overlooked, and that's why I've invited Thomas Barr to join us from Local First Arizona. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and the reason I invited you, Thomas, is I know I've been involved with you guys on various projects, and in fact, in terms with the community bank and starting that, and I love what you do in supporting local businesses. Thomas, can you tell us what Local First AZ does?
Yeah, I guess in simplest terms, Local First Arizona stands up and provides a voice for small businesses. We work with over 3,500 locally owned businesses across Arizona, providing resources, education, information, tools for them. Right now, in the center of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're really focused on trying to help save as many small businesses as possible to survive the current situation. As we know, they're incredibly challenging times. So We're doing everything from providing updated, ongoing information to our businesses so they know how to navigate applying for grants and loans, to providing focused one-on-one consulting with our small businesses so that they can get an evaluation and assessment of where they're at and what tools and resources could be helpful. This ranges from, maybe they need accounting assistance or legal assistance or just business coaching or brainstorming on how they could be marketing themselves.
Sure.
And then several weeks ago, we also launched a fund called the Small Business Relief Fund, where we've been raising money to give out micro grants to small businesses throughout Arizona. We've been able to raise around $800,000, have given out around $550,000 to micro businesses in Arizona. These are businesses with less than 3 employees who are in high need of access to cash right now to be able to sustain themselves. So We do a wide variety of work, but really right now we're really focused on trying to help as many businesses as we possibly can sustain this pandemic.
Yeah, Thomas, thank you. And that's awesome because, I had you on a couple of weeks ago for the same thing. And the businesses that you're working with and trying to help, of course, like I said, the Paycheck Protection Program, it's another one of the challenges of it. For it to be forgiven, 75% of the money has to go to payroll. And for a lot of businesses, that's just not a good fit. They don't have those high payroll needs, right?
That's correct. Yeah, and I mean, there's such a wide variety of small businesses, but really what we want to raise awareness about is that most small businesses are less than 50 employees, and I would even say less than 20 employees.
Right.
And the by the Small Business Administration standards, they're defined as less than 500 employees.
That's a big
business. So we really want to shine out. Yeah, it's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. So we really want to shine a light on the fact that there are numerous businesses that everyone interacts with every day and that are impacted, that need support in ways that go beyond, what we're hearing in the news. We do know that there were some sufficient updates and changes in the PPP funding in round 2 in Arizona.
Right.
For example, the average loan through round 1 was around $250,000 in Arizona, and this round is reporting around $84,000.
That's an improvement.
And by us seeing that number, we know that there's more loans going out to smaller businesses in our state, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's even like in this article, we've all heard about this kind of stuff. Large companies like, famously Shake Shack, Kennedy Center. Heck, the LA Lakers got over $4 million in their original round. And I don't know that that was really intended for those types of businesses, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm excited about what you guys are doing in terms of really addressing, it's the local coffee shops and restaurants and those businesses that we frequent or know about, right, that we're trying to help and make a difference. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And the key is, that affects our economy, and that's going to affect our economy in a big way if those businesses aren't around. So, Thomas, if somebody was interested in donating or helping out with this fund, where would they need to go to contact you?
Yeah, they can just go right to our website, localfirstaz.com. There's a direct link to read about the fund and to donate to it, to contribute to it. You can know that your dollars are going straight into the smallest of businesses in our communities that need our support right now. And
also, if you were a business, where would you, and looking for some help, go to the same place to contact you?
Yeah, you can come to us. The applications for the fund are actually closed as we received over 3,200 applicants, and we're trying to fund as many as we can.
Sure.
But we do have additional resources for you. You can get signed up for a sponsored membership of Local First if you're unable to pay for it, and then we can set up a one-on-one consultation with you to get an assessment of where you're at and what other resources we know are available for you.
Thomas, thanks for joining us one more time. Where do folks contact to help out with this program for small business?
go to localfirstaz.com.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, so that's been Thomas Barr, the Executive Director of Local First Arizona. And like I said, I just really want to encourage you to check out and encourage you to support this program, and let's help our local small business community. Stay tuned to Your Personal Bank Show. We're going to cover some great stuff in the next segment.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. We just had a great interview with Thomas Barr and the Local First AZ and the things that they're doing with the Small Business Relief Fund to try to help the local small businesses. So, again, I encourage you to contact Local First AZ and try to, support that program. I encourage you to do so. By the way, we do have a lot of listeners outside of just Arizona, and I'm going to ask you, the listeners, for some assistance here. If you know of any organizations that are helping out local small businesses, please contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. I'd love to reach out to them and see if there's anything we can do to get the word out and help them, help the local economy and help the local small business owners. Because like I said, a lot of them, just like I said in the article in the last segment, are getting overlooked by the government loan programs. Or not qualifying, or it's just not a good fit for them. So, again, check it out and notify us if there's any organizations you know of. Really appreciate it. Here's the thing. We've been talking a lot about coronavirus. It's dominating the news, of course, dominating the news cycle and everything else and everybody's focus and the way we're living our lives. And it's creating a lot of frustration and anxiety, stress, challenges, all kinds of things that we were not expecting. This is not expected to deal with. And so it's an interesting, challenging, and unique time. And, of course, this is Money Radio, and this is Your Personal Bank Show, and we're focused on the financial aspects of our lives and your money and that type of thing. And this really impacts all types of areas of our lives. But, of course, it's going to impact, and it is impacting many people, their money and their finances and their future. And there's a lot of uncertainty. It's the uncertainty that's the stressful part of things. I always say, one of the reasons why I focus on money and working with people, individuals, business owners, professionals, you name it, is one of my main goals I do working with people is to reduce stress. And let's face it, we've all heard this, what's the number one cause of disease? Medical community tells us stress. What's the number one cause of divorce? Financial problems, stress. So money has a big impact, and how we live our lives, how we feel about things, how we, our lives in terms of how happy we are, in terms of, the level of stress. And something my wife had said to me, a couple of years ago, I remember that. And those of you who know my story, I've shared the story. I'm an entrepreneur, done a lot of different things. We've done real estate investing. I've owned a retail business. I've owned a contracting company. Last 16 years, I've been owned a financial services agency, and learned a lot of lessons along the way. Some good, some not so good, not so fun. But one of the things, so we've at times made some good money. Don't get me wrong. Times been struggled, particularly when that whole real estate thing happened in 08, 09, here in Phoenix. And as she said, money doesn't make you happy, but it sure eliminates a lot of stress. And it's so true. And that's the key thing about it. So focusing on what's important in life with money is how do we reduce the stress in our lives? And right now it's a very stressful situation. Give you an example, just the idea of how upside down our world is. I read an article, I think it was yesterday, saying that the number one busiest airport right now is in Anchorage, Alaska, of all places. You wouldn't think of Anchorage as being a very busy airport. And by the way, it's not busy because of a lot of people flying in. It's cargo. It's a huge cargo airport because, Alaska imports a lot of things. So just to give you an idea of how upside down our world is right now and how things are is, Anchorage is the busiest airport in the world right now. Pretty crazy, if you know what I'm saying. But I want to look at another thing here, point 2. And it was an interesting article. There's a lot of different things I've talked about. Last week I said caution is the word of the day. The uncertainty of not knowing what's going forward certainly is key. And, there's many, many articles, and I've talked about going forward. There's, going to be a cascade of bad economic news. Certainly unemployment is tremendously bad, over 30 million unemployed in the first 6 weeks alone. Just tremendous, historically bad numbers, historically bad information. GDP, looking at some of the worst GDP numbers. These are the types of numbers that compared to the Great Depression. Now, again, I'm not saying we're going into a Great Depression. Don't get me wrong. We got some safety nets in place, but the numbers certainly are impactful in those types of that realm. It's historically bad is what I'm trying to say. How's that going to impact our money? How's that going to impact the economy? And what should we do? And Warren Buffett, which is obviously a very famous example, the Oracle of Omaha. Most people know who he is. And he's been quiet for a while, but he recently shared some information at his investor meeting, his annual meeting. And a couple of key points he made on this. Now, understand, Warren has always been historically and still is bullish on America, bullish on the long term. But there's a subtle difference in his tone this time. And as he points out, stocks and things should be only for the long term. And there's many, many articles. Like he said, I don't believe anyone knows what the market is going to do tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. And again, that really speaks to the thing I've been talking about is proceed with caution. We're like in the yellow flag of a race. There's been an accident. We've had a big accident that is affecting us economically. So you want to proceed with caution, and that really fits into the whole point I've been sharing with folks about, do you have your emergency bucket, that 6 months, maybe a year of emergency funds? Do you have that set aside in an account that's safe and liquid that you can access and use just in case you need it? That's one of the things that's been important, should have all the time, okay? But these particular times in these economic crises like this, even more important than ever. Okay, more important than normal. And then, of course, the middle bucket, the safer bucket. That's the bucket of money that should be, interest-bearing or income-earning type of monies and not so volatile and subject to risk. And that's important to have that bucket. And is that do you have adequate amounts in that bucket? In your personal bank, this show is focused on those kinds of things. A little bit later, I'm going to go into more detail about how the personal bank works. I've talked about the coronavirus and the economic impacts so much lately that I realized going back, I haven't really talked about how does your personal bank work. We're gonna touch on that some more in the next 2 segments. So I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned for that. The thing is, of course, the third bucket is the growth bucket, and that's the one that typically those are assets that are designed to grow. And, you think of things like equities and some types of real estate investments and, cryptocurrencies, and those kinds of things fit into that bucket. Those are the ones that are usually typically most challenged in economic crisis times, like we're in now, and you want to proceed with caution like that. The thing is, like Warren said, you want to think long term if you're thinking about those growth bucket assets. Most people talk about 5 years, 7 years. Those are monies you want to make sure you don't. The monies that are in that growth bucket, you don't want to have to touch them for a good period of time. Many articles, like I said, I think one I referred to last week, I think it was from Money Watch, I believe, talked about 7 years on that growth bucket. There's so much attention paid to that growth bucket of assets, and so many people talk about it in the media and Wall Street and all that kind of thing. My personal experience working with clients and working with folks is there's so much attention that there's almost an over-focus on that area. And modern portfolio theory recommends, as a rule of thumb, 60-40%. So there's 40% of your money should be in that safer bucket. So much attention is focused on that growth bucket, that 60%. There's all kinds of places to go for information. But what about that 40%, give or take? What about that safer bucket? We're going to talk about that more because that is paramount right now to get through the economic crisis that we're in and to get through the other side and prosper in this time and, of course, take advantage of opportunities when they come about. Because here's the thing. When we have an economic crisis, we have a recession, we have our whatever, eventually we'll come out on the other side, whenever that may be. And like I said, even Warren Buffett talked about nobody really knows when. It's that uncertainty. But we will come out on the other side. And when we do, will you be in a financial position where you have funds available that you could take advantage of opportunities that you see at that point? Or will you be like I was, my story, in 08, 09, when everything went down and I knew it was a great time, there was great opportunities, but I had been taken down by that economic slide, particularly with the real estate market. So I was in no financial position to take advantage of those opportunities. That's frustrating, knowing in your heart that there's something you can do. There's great opportunity to move forward, yet you can't do anything about it. We're going to talk about more about that so that doesn't happen again this time. Stay tuned.
For more information on your personal bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. We've been talking a lot about small business. I had Thomas Barr in the first segment. If you didn't hear that part of the interview that I did with him in terms of what they're doing to help local small businesses, I encourage you to contact Local First AZ or go back to the yourpersonalbank.com and you can listen to that portion. The next thing I was really talking about is, of course, stress, financial stress. And, of course, with financial crisis and uncertainty, creates a higher level of stress for a lot of folks. That uncertainty, particularly those small business owners that are getting hit hard, not knowing what's going to happen, have been forced to close, many of them, or reduce. It's a stressful time. Folks that have jobs associated with that. I mean, the majority of jobs in America are associated with small business. So, again, there's a lot of uncertainty there. Of course, over 30 million have applied for unemployment, already. So it's one of those things where we're in an uncertain time, which creates a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stress. So having certainty with your money, or at least the portion, having that safer bucket of money has guarantees built in, has some degree of certainty, if you will, a steady source of income, cash flow, those kinds of things becomes really imperative during these times, because there's a lot of people out there, that were had income. Talk to somebody in the travel industry or hotel industry, for example. They might have been pretty high up the ladder, if you know what I'm saying. You would have thought a few months ago they would have said to you, "Hey, I'm very secure. I mean, I got a great income, all that good stuff." And they've been blindsided by this through no fault of their own. Economic downturns, personal hardships, cycles, these things happen in our lives. Things happen that cause these things. And that's why modern portfolio theory talks about, having the two buckets of money, if you will. There's really three buckets. There's the emergency cash you should have for emergencies and short term, 6 months to a year is typically recommended. But then as far as your investment portfolio of dollars, it's that economic portfolio theory talks about 60-40 is a good rule of thumb. If you're older, talk about 50-50 of nearing retirement, let's say, or in retirement. If you're younger, maybe it's 70-30 or something like that. But in these times, this is when that safer bucket of money is so much more important, because having that cash flow or that income or interest or whatever it is to offset in case maybe other sources of income you have been affected or may be affected, or the growth assets haven't done so well or it's so volatile right now, I don't know where things are going, that safer bucket is key. And like I said, even Warren Buffett, his recent his annual meeting, talked about, I don't think anyone knows where the market's going to do tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. I think that's a pretty credible source and pretty much echoing just about what most everybody is saying. And here's the thing. The thing is, his actions speak louder than his words. And what's interesting, he's not doing stock buybacks of his own company or anything like that, because as he states, I don't feel that it's compelling to repurchase stock at this point, even when it was 3 months ago, as he points out. But even at the current market discount, he doesn't think the stock is undervalued, and he suggests that he doesn't think much else is either. Interesting thought. So again, it's the uncertainty. Is this the bottom? Nobody knows. And not just the stock market, but real estate, We had an interview last week with John Burley. Encourage you to one of the top real estate experts in the country. Encourage you to check it out at yourpersonalbank.com if you're interested in what John thinks about real estate going forward. Any market you really want to talk about, there is a lot of uncertainty. We've never had a situation really where we voluntarily have shut down a large portion of the economy. We don't know what the results of this is going to play out. And of course, we've got tremendous amount of government spending, unprecedented levels. Again, long term, we don't know how that's going to play out. Having that safer bucket of money, and like I said, I'm going to go into your personal bank a little bit and talk about how that works. It really comes down to when you talk about your safer bucket of dollars, you're talking about things that have less volatility, that are safer. Some of them have guarantees, some guarantees built in. And the key is they generate interest or income. What am I talking about? I'm talking about assets, things like CDs, for example. CDs have guarantees, FDIC insured, guaranteed interest rates. Of course, the problem most of us know in the current interest rate environment, CDs are giving very poor returns, very low returns. So not very popular these days like they were a decade or so ago when interest rates were much higher. Things like, bonds have been struggling for the same reason. And a lot of people think going forward, the interest rate environment, the low interest rate environment is causing the challenge there. Okay. So there's cash flow properties, real estate, like a long-term buy and hold rental real estate property can generate that kind of cash flow with relatively low risk or volatility. Okay. That can be a solution for some people, but not everyone wants to be a landlord. So that can be a challenge there. That's why I'm such a fan of the personal bank. And in fact, like I said, even John Burley talked about it in the last week's interview. He loves it. He said the number one. I thought this was really, really important. Like you said, he's been doing real estate for over 30 years. He was early real estate mentor to Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. He spoke on stages with Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, all those worldwide, literally. Like I said, one of the top real estate experts in the country. And he shared. He's written a book, best-selling book, Money Secrets of the Rich. And as he pointed out, I think I like this. He stressed, and a lot of folks that listen to Money Radio, you've done this right, and understand to build wealth. He said the number one key, and he really stressed that. And he goes, this is really the number one. This was one of the key things I took out of his interview last week. Was the number one key to building wealth is setting away a portion of your income over a long period of time, over decades, as he put it. That's nearly everyone he knows. That's how they built their wealth. And those of you who have done so understand that. By putting away a portion of your money into something that's consistent, something that generates growth, interest, whatever. By the way, with the personal bank, it does that. You can put it away on a regular basis, or if you have a chunk, you can do that too. But the money's going to grow at a consistent rate of return. Now, right now, the contractual guarantee is 4% crediting. It's currently paying 5%. Today, that's a pretty good rate of return. When you consider that's consistent, steady, it has guarantees built in, and tax favored. It can grow. The money grows tax deferred, and if you access it properly through policy loans, you can access the funds income tax free. Access and use those funds, which brings me to my second big point. My first point is in that safer money bucket, you want something that's going to generate consistent, steady returns, and the personal bank certainly fits that category, if you will, again, if it's structured correctly. Now, again, you got to maximize the cash. You got to structure the contract in the correct manner, which we do to maximize that cash growth, okay? It's one of the knocks on these tools. Sometimes people say, well, there's no money in it. It doesn't grow very well, and it takes a long time before you see cash in it. Well, you have to use the proper riders to maximize the cash initially the first year and then every year thereafter. We can do that. My point is you get that consistent, steady growth. The second key is access to the funds. See, now, recently there's been a lot of changes with the CARES Act and stuff. Folks can access or take loans from 401ks. They can access monies without the tax penalty under 59.5 and things like that, which is great for folks that need access to cash, access to monies. The thing is, that isn't normally available. And it isn't always a coronavirus situation when you need money. This is bringing it to light, of course, to a lot of people right now. But things happen personally in people's lives. Medical situations happen. Job losses, business losses occur. These things do happen in our lives on a regular basis. I deal with it with clients on a regular basis. And like I said, when I'm working with somebody and we're looking at their tax returns and we're looking at their financial statements and we're looking at what they're doing, and this is what we can do for you, contact us at Your Personal Bank. I told you I'm an entrepreneur with over 20 years experience. There's a lot of times we can get advice, like Thomas Barr was talking about with Arizona First, Local First, to help that business owner navigate this. This is my third economic cycle as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. There are folks out there listening right now that could use some advice and some help. Contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. Let me share with you how to thrive through this situation and come out on the other side in a better position to take advantage of those opportunities that will come about either as a business owner or an individual. So contact us. I look forward, love to help you and see what we can do. And in the next segment, the last segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about how the personal bank can create more or reduce the stress and the financial stress in our lives. That's important. Stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. We're rounding third. We've talked about a lot of great stuff today. We had a great guest on, Thomas Barr with Local First AZ, the local business relief program. They're helping out small businesses. I encourage you to contact them. Again, it's localfirstaz.com. And talking about a lot of, about financial stress. This whole situation with the coronavirus, financially, and many other reasons why, has created a lot of stress in a lot of people's lives. The small business community has been hit very hard. Certain areas have been devastating, and it creates a lot of stress, like I said. And eliminating financial stress is one of the keys to enjoying your life. Also, one of the wealth keys we shared about, and John Burley in the previous interview last week talked about, key to wealth is putting away money consistently, a portion of your incomes over a period of time, over long period of time. The personal bank, that's why I focus on that. A lot of people ask me, why do you talk about that so much? The reason is really simple. I see where it solves a lot of challenges for a lot of people. I was talking to a new client last week, in fact, and he's a business owner, and he was like, he's an investor, and he invested in a number of different things over the last 20 years, as you put it. And he goes, and looking back on everything, he goes, I made some money, and then it went back, and then I made some money, and it went back down. And I don't feel like I've really haven't done a whole lot, haven't gone very forward with things. And we talked a little bit, and I said, well, building a foundation is key building a house. Okay, if you want to build a skyscraper, what's the first thing you need to do? He was a contractor. He's in the contracting business. So I use that as an analogy. I said, you want to build a tall building, what's the first thing you need? He says, well, a solid foundation. I said, exactly. It's no different with your financial life. Putting money away consistently over a period of time builds that cash reserve, I should say. Putting it into an account that'll grow steady, consistently, without having a lot of volatility or risk is key. He goes, I never really thought about it that way. I put things I did it the opposite. I put things at risk, hoped, worked out. Some did, some didn't. But overall, it just didn't, like he said, I didn't feel like I've gone anywhere. I said, what if you took the opposite tact and you did a consistent, steady growth rate like John Burley teaches? And then after you've built a nest egg, then take some of the funds and, take a flyer, take some risk and see what you can accomplish and go bigger. Because that makes a lot of sense. So particularly now where things are uncertain, it's more critical than ever to have that cash flow, that reserve, that income. And like I said, I talked about the personal bank. Well, before I jumped on that, I referred earlier to the Warren Buffett statements recently about, I don't believe anyone knows where the market's going to do tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year for that matter. That's a pretty credible source of somebody a lot of folks look up to. And, If Warren doesn't know where things are going, I don't think really anybody does. And it's that uncertainty. It's that uncertainty that's the key that causes the risk, the volatility in those growth assets, and that extreme volatility we've been seeing recently. Having some steadiness, some consistency calms the waters, calms things down, and allows us to reduce our stress. If you're out of balance in your portfolio, you're too much in the risk side or the growth side, if you will, and you need some more in the safer, consistent, less volatile side, contact us, yourpersonalbank.com. We show you how to set up an account that's consistent, steady growth, it's tax favored, has some guarantees built in. Like I said, currently crediting 5%, contractually guaranteed at 4%. That's really good rates right now. And the most important, and that is important, but also having access and use of a good portion of those dollars in case you do need it. See, the thing is, if you're going to need the money, you want to have access to it, okay? Particularly in these unknowns, uncertain times going forward. But I think that's true anytime. Life is uncertain, isn't it? Particularly as an entrepreneur myself, we see a lot of uncertainty and things change quickly. We've certainly seen that in the last few months. You have to be prepared to navigate that in life, okay? But then when opportunities present themselves, and certainly opportunities will come down the pike. These economic crises create opportunities. If you have a chunk of monies that hasn't been subject to I call it the roller coaster. It's gone up, it's gone down, it's ridden whatever the cycle is, but you have a chunk of money that didn't do that. It's available there. It's there. You don't have to worry about it. It's got some safety. It's consistent. And then the opportunity presents itself. You can take some funds and really take advantage of that opportunity and really move forward financially at that point. In the midst of the crisis, it calms the storms. It calms the stress in life. And that's important. What's life about? I tell people this all the time. I'm a financial guy. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur, of course. But, having some balance in life is important. And calming the stress in life and having financial stress reduced in life makes life a whole lot better. It just does. And it's much more fun, much more enjoyable to live that way than so many people do, where too much is at risk, or they're living paycheck to paycheck and things like that. That's just stressful, folks. And there's a few simple key things you can do. And again, Personal Bank is one of the keys that can help accomplish that or accelerate those goals. The consistency of growth, the steady consistency with some guarantees so you don't have to ride the volatility is key. And secondly, access to the monies if and when you need them, or if and when an opportunity presents itself. That's really the keys to why this works so well. And as I was starting to say, I share this because I find personally, I've worked with clients now I'm on my 23rd year in the financial world. And so many of the people, the vast majority, their balance, if you will, I ask them what they want to accomplish in life, what their goals are, where they want to be, and all those kinds of things. And yet, where they're invested their money is not fitting with their goals. It's out of whack, if you will. And so the ratios or balances are so far out of whack in so many cases. That's why I find this is a great solution to bring things back in balance, have that consistency, have that steadiness, and that's the key. That's what's so important about all this. What can I say? I've lived it myself. As an entrepreneur, our business up and down, we used to call it the roller coaster, the feast and famine. Anybody that's been an entrepreneur or lived on a 1099 type of income, commission type stuff or anything else for that matter, gig economy is really big these days, understands what I'm talking about. It's feast and famine. If you have a steady, consistent paycheck, kudos to you. I haven't lived that life very much myself personally. I've been there a few times. But that consistency allows you, again, to put some away for the future, because even those types of incomes aren't necessarily always there. Again, A lot of people in this crisis have learned that the hard way. So, contact us at yourpersonalbank.com. If you need some advice with your business, like I said, this is my third business cycle. I've owned several companies. There's some things I've learned, both through mentors and the hard way, that can help. I love helping fellow entrepreneurs. We can help you navigate this, help you get through this financial crisis, thrive through this, reduce your stress in your life, reduce the financial stress in your life, okay? And then, guess what? When this all blows over, we're going to take advantage of you're going to be in a position to be able to take advantage of some opportunities and really move forward financially in your life and not have to worry about it all in the midst of the storm. Stay tuned to the Your Personal Bank Show. We're on every Tuesday at noon, Money Radio, 1510 a.m. or 105.3 FM, or you can listen anytime on our app or yourpersonalbank.com.
Listen next week at noon for more information on Your Personal Bank. Contact Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com.
This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guests on this program do not engage in rendering legal, accounting, or tax advice. Expert advice from a professional involving your specific situation should be sought, if required. Permanent life insurance is a long-term investment. Products, optional features, and riders may have limitations, restrictions, and additional charges and may not be available in all states. Withdrawals beyond principal may be taxable income. Excessive and unpaid loans may cause the policy to lapse. If a policy lapses, unpaid loans are treated as distributions for tax purposes. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be penalties and surrender charges when replacing coverage. New products may include new surrender charges and contestability period. Policy guarantees are based upon the claims-paying ability of issuing insurance company and do not apply to the investment performance or assets in the underlying variable portfolios. The life insurance and annuity products in this presentation are not FDIC insured, may lose value, and are not bank guaranteed.